Could dual citizens lose their US passport? It was the question proposed at my mom group coffee hour the other day amongst my international friends. And then all eyes turned to me. And suddenly one woman says to me, "Okay, you're the lawyer. What is going on with this new US citizenship bill?" They'd all seen the headlines suggesting that the United States might be ending dual citizenship, and understandably, people were worried. So today, I want to break this down calmly, clearly, and without panic. Is the US ending dual citizenship? Could dual citizens really lose their US passport? And should you actually be worried? Well, let's talk about it. If you're new here, hi, I'm Danielle Paisalis, the founder of Expat Livin. I live abroad with my family and I work with expats and future expats navigating visas, residency, and citizenship issues every single day. So when something like this comes up, I want to address it head on with facts and not fear. So, what is this bill that everyone is talking about? The bill is actually called the Exclusive Citizenship Act of 2025, and it was proposed by U.S. Senator Moreno. In very simple terms, this proposed bill would force U.S. citizens who hold another citizenship in another country to make a choice. Under the proposal, dual citizens would have 1 year to either formally renounce their foreign citizenship or renounce their U.S. citizenship. And if they do nothing during that year, the bill claims they would automatically lose their U.S. citizenship. That's the part that made the headlines, and that's what scared a lot of people. So let's talk about why this bill is practically unworkable. The first issue, and it's a major issue, is renouncing citizenship isn't always possible. In many countries, you can't just give up your citizenship. Some countries don't allow renunciation at all, and others make it discretionary. You can also become a citizen without ever choosing to, simply because you were born, in another country or it's where your parents were born. So the idea that someone could be forced to renounce a foreign citizenship when the US doesn't really control that process anyway is legally messy at best. The U.S. Secretary of State cannot cancel another country's citizenship. That's just not how sovereignty works either. Then there are problems on the U.S. side too. There's confusion in the bill about how U.S. citizenship renunciation would even happen. So right now, renouncing U.S. citizenship is handled by the Department of State, usually at a U.S. embassy or a consulate that's abroad. So this bill suggests that pushing that responsibility to the Department of Homeland Security. And that would require entirely new systems, new procedures, staffing, and frankly, it would be a massive administrative burden and probably a nightmare. From a practical standpoint alone, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. And here's another interesting and very real and awkward consequences of the bill is that the current US president's wife and his son are actually dual citizens of the United States and Slovenia. So if this bill were enforced as written today, it would directly affect the president's own immediate family. That doesn't make the bill illegal, but it does show just how broad and blunt the proposal is. There's no nuance here. It sweeps very widely. So now let's talk about something that people often overlook, and that's taxes. The United States is one of the only countries in the world that taxes its citizens on their global income, no matter where they live, for as long as they remain a U.S. citizen. If this bill pressured people into renouncing citizenship or it stripped it automatically, it could unintentionally cut off U.S. tax revenue from millions of people around the world. It could also trigger the exit tax, where assets are treated as if they were sold on the day that you exit. And that would also create enormous consequences, not just for individuals, but also for the IRS and the system as a whole. From a practical standpoint and an economic one, this bill doesn't really help the United States. There's another unintended consequence that really concerns me, that if someone suddenly loses their U.S. citizenship, especially while living in the United States, they could instantly become undocumented, an illegal alien, so to speak. So in other words, this bill could unintentionally create millions of illegal immigrants overnight. And what are the consequences of that? Well, that means that if you are a business owner who has employees that have dual citizenship and now they are considered illegal aliens, you are now breaking the law by hiring undocumented workers. So this bill has a lot of consequences that are not really well thought out. And I do not believe that the intent of this bill was to do this, but these are very real legal outcomes. And now we get to the biggest issue of all, and that's the main reason why I don't think that this bill will pass, is that the Supreme Court has been very clear that Congress cannot involuntarily strip United States citizenship. Citizenship can only be lost through a voluntary act. So this bill tries to argue that because people had a one-year choice, losing citizenship is voluntary. But I don't think that that argument really survives constitutional scrutiny under the 14th Amendment. So in my personal opinion, this bill would face immediate and serious legal and constitutional challenges. So the big question here is, will the bill actually become law? The short answer is I don't think so. There are too many constitutional, legal, practical, tax, and immigration problems for this bill to become a law in its current form. So if you are a dual citizen watching this, I do not believe that you're about to lose your passport. But that said, the fact that this bill exists at all is still very important. It shows a misunderstanding of how citizenship works in a global world. And people don't always choose dual citizenship. Sometimes it happens automatically. So when the reality isn't fully understood, policies like this can create fear, confusion, and unintended harm. So while I'm not panicking, I am paying attention. All right, my friends, I'd love to really hear your thoughts on this. Do you think this bill is dangerous? Is it, just political posturing, or do you think that this is something that Congress needs to rethink entirely? Tell me about what you think about this proposed bill in the comments below. And if you're thinking of making a move abroad, please check us out at expatlivin.com. We do help individuals and families move abroad by getting them from where they are to where they want to be. And if you found this video helpful, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who you think might be concerned about dual citizenship or living abroad. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.